Is our third meeting for the budget. As always, we'll set the time to stop by 10 p.m. So we will start with Public Works, but before that, we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll first. And roll.
My eyeballs. Do the roll first.
Okay. Clerk Tamer, if you'd call the roll, please.
No. Brennan?
Here.
Mulliner? Here. Deuter? Here. Remus? Here. Dunn?
Here.
Bram?
Here.
Halemsky? Here. Cahill?
Here.
Toledo?
Here.
Park? Levin?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
Conquest?
Here.
We have 12 present, 1 absent, 1 vacancy.
12 present, 1 absent, 1 vacancy. The Governor of the State of Illinois has declared a gubernatorial disaster proclamation in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, restricting individuals to gatherings of 25 persons or less, and all of the city of Elmhurst is covered by the disaster area. In light of the ongoing COVID-19 outbreak, the mayor of the city of Elmhurst has determined that an in-person meeting for the November 9th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting may not be practical or prudent in light of the disaster. All of the aldermen of the city council participating in the November 9th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting, wherever their physical locations, shall be verified and determined that they can hear one another and can hear all discussions and testimony during the meeting. Well, I believe with 13 present and 1 absent, Alderman Park will not be joining us. So since we're all physically here, I think we're in good shape. So moving on the agenda, number 2, announcements. City manager, any announcements or any other announcements from the dais?
If I can just hold on 1 second, Mr. Chair, Assistant Manager Kopp is dialing in the public number for the meeting, so you can
Okay.
hold on until we get that
Gladly.
connected.
Welcome
Thank you.
to AT&T's teleconference service. Please enter your access code, followed by the pound sign. To join the conference as the host, press star. Otherwise, please enter your host password, followed by the pound sign. At the tone, please speak your name.
City Hall.
There are 2 participants on the call, including you. You are joining your conference as the host. For a menu of available commands, press star pound.
Okay. All right. All right. So we have a few people participating via phone. Great.
That might be the city treasurer.
Okay.
You want to check if it's,
If there's someone on the phone, do you want to identify yourself? Okay. All right, moving on to public comment. Clerk Tamer, anyone signed up for public comment? Okay. On the phone, is there anyone that would like to participate for public comment? Okay. Hearing none, we'll close public comment, move on to approval of minutes. Originally, we had said that we'd be looking at the minutes from the November 2nd, 2020 Committee of the Whole. Apparently, City Manager, these are not ready to be reviewed, so we will move these to the next agenda, correct?
that is correct. Thank you.
Okay. All right, on to business before the committee. We're going to continue with the review, and we'll start with Public Works. City Manager, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight, we do have an ambitious Public Works agenda. I know it looks like a lot on the agenda sheet, but if you look at the smaller detail, it doesn't look as bad. So we'll try to get through as much as we can. We have with us Corey Tiberi, who's the acting Public Works Director and Assistant Public Works Director. And then behind us, we have City Engineer Kent Johnson and our Water and Wastewater Supervisor Paul Burris. So I am going to ask Corey to take it away and walk us through most of these. And then once we get down to letter L, we will, Tom and I will chime in with that. So please, take it away.
Thank you. As you all know, 2020 has been a very challenging year all around. Due to the pandemic, many of the programs in Public Works were cut or postponed. We didn't hire any summer seasonal workers. Staff was split into different work groups. We were in different locations, and for the treatment plant, they had different shifts to try to keep the employees healthy and to maintain essential public services. I'm extremely proud of our Public Works team for their flexibility and their in-it-together attitude. They did a great job navigating a very uncertain year. I plan to give a couple highlights for each division, and then when I get to the end of the Public Works operations, we'll go back and go over those divisions if you have any questions. So starting with Public Works Administration, which includes our admin employees and engineering. Engineering completed the Sailor, Swain, and Villette Stormwater Project. It came in under budget and is online faster than originally scheduled. It was a design-build contract. Engineering also completed structural repairs to the Schiller parking deck and replaced 1.2 miles of water main on St. Charles, Adele, and Crescent. Next year's engineering projects will include the College View or York High School and Jackson School stormwater projects. Those will collectively add another 11.7 acre-feet of detention. The 2021 water main project will replace 1.76 miles of water main, and contract paving will resurface roughly 8 miles of roadway. Finally, engineering will continue to design the Route 83 pedestrian bike overpass, the York and Butterfield intersection improvements, the North York sidewalk and roadway resurfacing, and the Brush Hill Road reconstruction. For Public Works and the Street Division, they mainly focused on basic roadway and maintenance tasks in 2020. With no seasonals, staff did the majority of the crack filling, the CBD maintenance, which includes all the brick repairs, weed control, and streetscape furniture touch-ups, plus routine full-time tasks like patching, striping, and sign installation. The pandemic did reduce special event efforts and block parties. However, the Street Division and several other Public Works employees assisted with traffic control during planned demonstrations. We also purchased water-filled jersey barriers and installed them for outdoor dining. Bi-weekly evening maintenance in the CBD was performed to try to keep the sidewalk cafe areas neat and clean. So next year, our plan is to return to normal. No major projects, but just catch up on all of our routine maintenance. The Forestry Division was also very busy with no seasonals. And then on top of a pandemic, of course, 2020 throws the derecho windstorm on August 10th. So cleanup required all of their projects and maintenance to be put on hold, and then extensive assistance from other Public Works divisions to assist with the cleanup, which lasted almost 3 weeks. Even with the pandemic and the windstorm, all the normal projects and maintenance were completed with the exception of the fall tree planting. A question always comes up about the elm tree population, our parkway tree population. The survey done in 2004 was 2,813 elm trees. To date, we have removed 1,554 trees, so remaining parkway elms are 1,259, which is about 45% of our elm tree population. For the ash trees, the survey was done in 2009. We had 2,310 ash trees. 1,916 have been removed, and 394 remain, which is about 17%. And those are removed as they're diseased and dying. So the electrical division also remained busy. They coordinated the installation of 4 high-speed doors in the mechanics area at the garage. They replaced steel light poles that were structurally unstable on North Avenue, York and Lake. In 2021, the electrical division will continue to analyze and replace the remaining decorative steel light poles. These are highly susceptible to the salt corrosion on these main arterials. Staff will also begin a 3-year program to replace obsolete traffic signal controllers at 15 intersections, replacing 5 per year, and they're going to be adding UPS, which is uninterrupted power supply. The Building Maintenance Division shifted gears to focus on cleaning and basic building system maintenance during the pandemic. This division had one employee start early to actually open the metro station because the ticket agent was not working, so we opened the doors every morning. The metro station common touch points were cleaned twice a day, and staff also did additional cleaning at City Hall and other public buildings. Typical maintenance for the parking decks was lighter, but staff cleaned railings and elevator lobbies more often. And finally, to improve ventilation at City Hall, the building maintenance staff is currently working with a contractor to upgrade the City Hall HVAC system, which is eligible for CARES Act funding. Next year's major project is completing the Public Works garage roof repairs. The Fleet Division, or Central Equipment Maintenance, with electrical, as I mentioned, installed 4 high-speed doors in their work area, and this just increases our energy efficiencies and heat in the winter. They focused on routine vehicle and equipment maintenance. We have 18 propane and gas dual-fueled vehicles and a forklift. Together, those use 7,335 gallons of propane. Propane is about 97 cents cheaper than gas, so we had a savings of $7,115 this year. It also reduces our CO2 emissions. And talking to the American Lung Association, that can be equated to planting 564 trees, 4,352,456 smartphone charges, 1,297 incandescent bulbs replaced with LEDs, or 1,453 trash bags recycled instead of landfilled. So those are just some conversions for what we have saved in the environment. Propane also burns cleaner, so it reduces our maintenance costs and improves the engine life. 2021's focus will be routine maintenance and operations. So I'll stop there because that takes us A through H. Any questions?
Okay.
So, let's see, Public Works Administration starts on page 126. So, Mr. Chair, if we want to go back there, and we're happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Okay. City Manager, anyone on the dais have questions related to Public Works Administration? Alderman Deuter.
Thank you. On page 129, line 3008, there's a line for alley maintenance.
Oh, Alderman Deuter, I'm sorry. We jumped ahead to street maintenance.
Oh, you're just taking
I was just gonna go
administration.
kinda
Oh, sorry.
tick
I
one-
thought that
one-
was just for the section she
Each
covered.
one of them, but I'll get you there. So, anyone on administration? Seeing none, all right, now we'll go to street maintenance. Alderman Deuter, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Page 129, line 3008, alley maintenance. Do you happen to know, Corey, I assume that line is for repaving alleys, and do you know how many blocks the amount budgeted for 2021 would cover?
So the length of an alley varies, just like the lengths of the blocks vary, but for 2021, we have 7 alleys planned for resurfacing.
Wow, okay. And do you have those listed out? Okay, I'd be interested to see the list if you want to send it to me or put
Be
it on
happy
a
to.
circle back if anyone else is interested, but curious to know. Thank you.
We'll include that as a circle back.
Thanks, perfect.
Okay. Any other questions under street maintenance? Alderman Brown.
Thank you. I think it's page 129, because I grabbed the 2020 budget book instead of next year, so I'm not sure the exact line item, but I'm hoping that it's the same as what I'm looking at. And that is storm sewer cleaning. It looks like for storm sewer cleaning that I don't believe we did anything for 2020. 2021, I believe we were projecting $300,000, so that's an uptick. I know that the J form mentioned that the maintenance or the 3-year storm cleaning cycle was done in 2019. Didn't do much, if anything, in 2020. But I don't see much of an uptick. Is this part of the beginning of a 5-year plan? And does the 5-year plan have to be adjusted because we did nothing in 2020?
Okay, so for 2020 and 2021, we budgeted 25,000, and that's basically for emergency work, any sort of storm sewer repairs that are identified and immediately need to be repaired. In 2022, we have budgeted 300,000, which will begin a 5-year cleaning program for all of our storm sewers.
Okay, so the plan was 25,000 for back-to-back years, and then 2022, 300,000.
Correct.
Okay. Like I said, I accidentally grabbed the wrong budget book at home, so I was showing 2021 budgeting for 300,000, so that's the clarification.
And if we can clarify, we got through the entire city of storm sewer,
Correct.
the parts we needed to, and pulled, Paul, how many tons of debris did we pull out, ballpark?
Almost 1,000 cubic yards.
Okay. And because of that, and because of the budget effect, we decided to push that out to 2022 and then begin the 5-year. We felt very comfortable with that.
And that was, my understanding, was a certain size storm sewer diameter on up or something? There was a minimum size throughout the city or through parts of the city?
We did 24-inch and under. So those are the ones that, the majority of the pipes we have in town. The larger pipes, we did a small amount up to 48s, but the larger pipes we have not finished yet. So those are usually walked, as we go through things. So, and right now we've not found any debris inside the ones that we've inspected.
Thank you. And since I do have the wrong budget book, I'm not going to be able to provide a line number, but street reconstruction, what is the budget for street reconstruction and how many miles does that encompass?
It's 8015, page 130. Line item 8015 on page 130. Roadway improvements.
So A15, I'm going to have Kent tell me what the total mileage is for contract paving, but we also have concrete street resurfacing in that one. We have parking lots, inlet cleaning, which begins again in 2021, and that's everything that's in that line item for 2021.
So in the big picture, what we've done, since we didn't do a paving program this year, is we've taken that money and distributed it over the next 4 years. We didn't try to lump it all back into 2021. We took that and we'll make up for this year over the next 4 years.
Can we make this as a circle back? I would like to dive a little bit deeper in regards to how COVID did impact, or I shouldn't even say COVID, how did our finances impact street reconstruction or resurfacing for this year?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions related to street maintenance? Okay, hearing none. Alderman Bram, you should be able to see the budget online. Well, even though you don't have your book, you could probably find the latest on there.
Agreed. It's just, I have no notes.
Okay, all right, on to snow removal. Any questions related to snow removal on page 132? Alderman Deuter.
Thank you. This is not related to a specific line, but can you just remind me how we share responsibilities for snow removal in City Center? I know City Center has a piece of snow removal. I know our staff does some, initial sweeps. Can you just walk through who's responsible for what?
Sure. So the city center has a contractor that is responsible for full snow removal on the sidewalk areas. And their trigger is usually 2 inches or more, and they will call this contractor in with our assistance. We're always giving them guidance because we're out there and we can see what's going on. So we call the city center group and say, here's what we see coming, and if it happens this way, we can call your contractor versus waking up your staff at 2 o'clock in the morning. So the city staff, though, we do one pass with the trackless machine, so that'll give you a 6-foot wide path through the downtown. So that's what we do at the beginning of the storm prior to their contractor coming out. We also have our staff that will do salting and snow removal in the streets, plowing. It is a synchronized effort when we bring in the other contractors. So basically at 11 o'clock, when the businesses start to close and nobody's parked on the streets, they start pushing everything into the street. We plow it to the middle, and then we use our snow go, and that basically is a very large snow blower that picks it up and blows it into a truck, and then the truck takes it over to the Elmhurst quarry. We dump it, they come back, and we start over.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Alderman Dunn.
Yes, just wondering, in terms of snow removal, the overtime budget, it's running about $300K a year. Looks like it's blank for next year, but what is generally the time spent removing snow on overtime versus regular time? What's sort of the rule of thumb there?
We've asked God only
There
to
is no
have
rule
snow
of
events
thumb.
during normal business hours going forward, so there will
Right.
be no overtime.
It's a very difficult question to answer because it depends on when the snow falls and how much falls. The operation that Corey talked about where we do the downtown can generally be overtime depending on, how our crews are doing. We try to move the shifts around so that we're not paying that if possible, but generally in a snowy winter, it's difficult not to. We do employ other employees through a reduced rate program that we have where employees in the engineering division and what other divisions?
Fire.
Pardon?
Fire.
And fire will help us out to plow parking lots, as I said, at a reduced rate, which is cheaper than bringing in a contractor even. So we train those employees to help bring that overtime number down.
Do you know what that rate is?
Is it $25 an hour roughly?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I think, when I think of removing snow during the winter, naturally the forestry department, not a lot to do then. They're probably one of the first to go out and start doing things, removing snow, and that would not be on overtime. That would be normal time unless it was after hours. But okay, thanks.
Alderman Levin.
Thank you. I was just wondering,
Alderman Levin, can you pull your microphone down?
oh, you want to hear me?
I would like to hear you, yes.
Thank you. You're moving the snow removal overtime to the motor fuel tax for just 1 year. And I was just wondering what the thinking is behind that.
Go ahead, Tom.
So the thinking behind that was because we've received some additional funding through the Build Illinois grant, and snow removal costs are an eligible MFT expense, we moved the salaries there for 1 year, trying to control the fund balance and the MFT fund itself. We may look at that permanently, again, just because our MFT reporting, as the city council knows, we do mostly salaries, and these are easy salaries for us to track and to report on. So we may make that permanent change the following year.
Thank you.
Okay, any further comments on snow removal? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to forestry, which is on pages 133 and 134. Anyone have any comments or questions? Alderman Deuter.
Thank you. Corey, did I hear you say that we did not do a fall tree planting this year?
That's correct.
Is that reflected on the budget, that one of the estimated lines will be quite a bit lower than budgeted?
So for the tree planting and then the tree purchase, you can see was less. Tree planting, that will actually go down a little bit more because we provided these numbers before we decided not to do the planting.
So I see the tree planting line, where's the tree purchase?
It's in commodities, it's 4061.
Got it.
So those will go down a little bit. We generally plant about 500 trees in the spring and 50 in the fall.
Okay.
So it's not a
it's small.
significant amount.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions around forestry? Alderman Levin.
Sorry, I'm one topic ahead. Never mind. Waiting
Okay.
for electrical.
Alderman Bram.
More of a general question, something like the example that Alderman Deuter just pointed out. Is that going to be, and maybe this is more for Director Trozine, is that going to be considered a carryover when we talk about the end of year? Or, I see Corey shaking her head no. But what's decided to be a carryover and what's not?
So for the tree planting, I mean, that'll just be a larger positive variance in the 2020 estimate and everything. So that won't be. We're hoping that the carryovers are smaller in size this year as far as number goes, just because of COVID. But that would just be an estimated change that once we do the actual audit, it'll be probably a little less than what's presented here.
Thanks.
Okay, anything further on forestry? Okay, moving on to electrical. I know Alderman Levin, you had a riveting question to ask.
You know it. I was looking at line 3024. I just want to understand, is that electricity actually used by, that's allocated to the electrical division? Or is this some, I guess, what is that? Because I see it in other divisions, there's an allocation. Is it like data processing, or is this what they're actually using?
That is the electrical that's associated with streetlights and traffic signals.
All right, and so we expect that's going to go down significantly? Is there some new is it the LEDs or some sort of new technology that's causing that?
I think that's it, right, Corey? LEDs?
We've done some
Yeah,
LEDs.
it's the implementation of the LEDs on the streetlights.
Very good, thank you.
Alderman Dunn.
Yeah, just following up on Alderman Levin's question, I seem to recall a topic, I don't remember specifically what it was, but there was a savings in electricity, and then I was told we don't pay electricity for electricity. But I'm seeing it here in this line item, so we don't pay it in City Hall, or, I mean, how's that work?
Yeah, so that's determined by our franchise agreement. In our franchise agreement, we do get service at public buildings for no charge, but that does not include facilities like the wastewater treatment plant, where we operate that as an enterprise fund, or the water system. And they have a set rate at ComEd for the traffic signals and for the street lights. And I believe that got renegotiated when everybody started implementing the LEDs because electric use went down so much.
Great, thanks.
Okay, anything further on electrical? Okay, moving on to rubbish disposal, page 138. Any questions there? Alderman Bram.
Thank you. If memory serves me correctly, is I can't even think of the terminology,
Composting?
thank you, composting. Having a problem tonight. The composting, is that included in the dollars for yard waste, rubbish, none of the above? Where's composting?
Individually billed to the
I
customer.
think so, but that's,
Individually billed to the customer, right?
right?
That is individually billed to each resident who contracts for that service. So they get a separate bill from a public.
So it doesn't go through City Hall at all, is what
That's-
you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. And where are we with the refuse and recycling contract? What year out of the 5?
Yeah, they're,
We believe it's the third year.
That would be my guess, too. We'll
Yeah.
go with that. Thank you.
Okay, anything further on rubbish disposal? Hearing none, we'll move on to municipal buildings, page 139. Any comments or questions there? Alderman Levin.
Could you, on line 8023, we had budgeted, unless it's a typo, 115,000.
no. So at we had budgeted 115,500. That was for some plumbing work here at City Hall and also to relaminate the dais. So the Dias project was cut and rebudgeted. The plumbing project is going to be a lot less. The $1,150,000 is partly for the City Hall HVAC. Oh, that's great. And then the little bit of plumbing we had.
And that HVAC work is being covered by CARES Act? That's another part of,
That is correct.
okay. Okay. Alderman Deuter. Then we'll go to Alderman Dunn.
So I have a question about 180 West Park. And I assume that's reflected in here. The maintenance that's related to that building would be part of this section? Is that safe to assume?
That's their property management services, right?
Correct, that's account 6069.
Okay. I am wondering if it would be possible, I know we can sometimes get estimates of values of properties. Would it be possible just to get, without an appraisal, just a rough estimate of the value of 180 West Park? And if possible, the value of the building and the value of the service parking lot adjacent, broken out separately, and then put that on a circle back?
Sure.
Good?
Yep.
Okay, Alderman Dunn.
Yeah, on that same page, line 3014, the custodial service. So we had a jump in the budget this year. I think there was a new contract. I'm just wondering, is there an expected increase due to COVID of additional cleaning? I mean, in my business where I'm negotiating with companies, they are claiming additional expenses due to COVID, cleaning and operating issues. So is that in here, or do we have that?
Yeah. So we don't anticipate increase to our custodial contract. We started to do that in-house with our own building maintenance staff. We did the additional cleaning.
Gotcha, okay.
And I would add to that, Alderman, that the firefighters have been coming in and fogging the city hall and offices and other buildings, other city buildings, squad cars. Anytime that we've had a COVID positive person in one of our vehicles, we've also used that service, which we've done in-house.
Okay. Anyone else on municipal buildings? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to central maintenance equipment, pages 140 to 141. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll go on to public benefits, page 142. Any questions there? Alderman Levin.
Well, I have to go to the foundation of this one. I was trying to figure out what public benefits are, because I assume it's buildings and things that are maintained, but like we just covered HVAC to City Hall, it's in a different line item. So I think after all these years, I'm not sure what public benefits means in our budget.
So as an example, line 8034, the sidewalk improvements, that would be our share contribution if we were to add sidewalks where there are no sidewalks currently. Some of the other improvements are for retention ponds, cleaning and everything else. So could they be inserted in some other areas? Probably. But again, it's that public benefit, and the best example is the sidewalks for potentially a new SSA.
Well, and I mean, I guess maybe it's been here all these years, but it just seems we just went through a line item for repaving, for instance, or street improvements, and then we have street improvements here. So it's I don't know, we have to change it this year, but it seems like maybe they should be, like, let me ask that question, like, what kind of street improvement are we budgeting? This year we budgeted $550,000 that isn't part of the other budget areas in Public Works.
Okay. So for, I'll just kind of go through the various line items. 8022 traditionally has been a miscellaneous drainage maintenance. So this is cleaning drainage, ditches and culverts. So it's a more regional type project because all the water, comes together and has to get to where it's going. So that is what the $100,000 is that's budgeted. In 2020, it had a carryover, which was for some wayfinding signage, but we've deferred that project to coincide with the train station. In 8025, that's the street improvements. That has improvements at like Prairie Path and York for that crossing, so used by a lot of people. The Route 83 pedestrian bridge is in there. The bike pedestrian plan is also in there. The bike parking materials that we recently approved for purchase, that will add more bike parking in the downtown areas and other areas of town. All of those items are in the street improvements in that $550,000 budget.
All right, so these are more special projects where there might be grant funds or something like that, or contributions, as opposed to the regular ongoing maintenance?
Yeah, we're always seeking grant funds, but they're also utilized by more of the community than like a paving crescent or something like that.
All right.
Okay, Alderman Bram.
Thank you. In regards to that, for 8034 sidewalk improvements, could we put that on the circle back, please? And just to give detail, I'm just seeing if that funding source is the right amount or not.
That's just a placeholder.
Okay, we're good? All right. I think that takes care of all the items under Public Works, correct?
Well, we move into,
You want to go ahead and go to motor fuel tax, Jim, or how do you want to,
yeah, how do,
or jump down
Well,
to
we
the
got-
parking system?
yeah, I can do MFT. So, let's see, let's switch here. So the motor fuel tax funds, they used to be used primarily for labor and purchase of rock salt. So this year, Finance and Engineering have also included eligible roadway projects like Brush Hill Road, Villa Avenue, First and Park Bridge improvements, Butterfield and York intersection improvements, and Van Buren and Crescent reconstruction. So all of those items are included in the motor fuel tax funds in addition to rock salt. Any
Okay.
questions?
Any questions on the motor fuel tax fund? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to Stormwater Fund, page 243 to 246.
Sure. So this fund is used to provide for stormwater projects. It also used to include buyouts and miscellaneous stormwater improvements. There are several KEBs for various stormwater projects, but right now there's only 2 projects that have funding, and that's the College View, York High School, and Jackson stormwater projects, and then the Arlington Reservoir. So funding for additional projects that have been identified would need to be identified and determined in the future.
Okay, any questions? City Manager, I think we'll probably, since Public Works is working on project prioritization, that's probably a good one to have on the circle back, because by that time, we should be pretty close to determine what priorities might be going into the future years. Alderman Saludo.
Thank you. Just on 35, this is page 245, 35-00, sale of property. I know with some of the schedules that Tom Trezine has put together regarding when we might need to find more revenue for the stormwater fund, this $360,000 was projected as one of the possible things we would do this year. I think we had some conversations, city manager, about when we were going to put that piece of property up for sale. I see it's in 2021. Can you just give an update on the plans for that?
Yeah, so we own actually 2 vacant lots that could be sold for stormwater. And initially, we had purchased one for possible project, but as it turns out, through engineering's hard work, we were able to get enough storage without using this, so it makes all the sense in the world to put that back on the market. for redevelopment. And then we have another piece on Bryan Street that we ended up buying as part of a settlement in a lawsuit, and we're looking at the possibility of selling that as well, coming to the council and asking permission to do that. There are some restrictions on that lot with some utilities, but we do think it's a marketable lot that we would come back and talk about putting on the market.
Just a follow-up.
Yep.
So when is the timing proposed for that to happen?
We are working with our consultant that does real estate to determine value so that we can come to the council and kind of set that price of what we're looking for, and then go to market with that. So it could be any time. We're going to look at what the best time for developers is to start moving on that. So I'm guessing that developers don't want to hold a piece of property for too terribly long, so we're going to look at what that market is, see if we can get that on as soon as possible.
So city managers are thought to try and sell both in 2021, or?
That's what we
Market
want to
over
talk
there.
to the council about, yeah.
Okay. Got it.
So I'm not sure, right now, I'm not prepared to have that conversation, but certainly we will shortly.
Fair enough. Okay. Anything further on the stormwater fund? With that, let's go to the municipal utility fund, pages 184 to 207.
Okay. So 2020 was a very busy year for Paul's team. They had a lot of major projects and renovations that were completed. The treatment plant was one big construction site. They did underground non-potable water, natural gas, potable water, and electric and fiber optic projects at the plant. They also installed 3 new raw screw pumps, influent control gates, and the ancillary equipment that goes with that, 2 sludge belt presses, and 3 sludge transfer pumps, as well as 2 waste-activated sludge pumps. All of those were installed, and an electrical building was constructed at the plant. If you haven't been to the plant, now is your time to schedule a visit. It's amazing. It's been paved. I spent some time there today. So highly encourage you to set that up with Paul while it's still nice. They also did the Lake Street and Walnut sanitary lift station improvements. The Harrison Storm Pump Station was upgraded, and the Harrison Detention Basin, which is also the Yorkfield at Harrison Detention Basin, that work was completed. Staff finished the 3rd year of a 3-year hydrant renovation project. They did over 100 sanitary T-liners in the consent order area to reduce I&I. They continued to administer the enhanced I&I program for over 350 improper sump connections that are in the consent order area, and 72% of those are now in compliance. They monitored zone scan acoustical leak detection devices for water main leaks or breaks that have not surfaced. A total number of 11 leaks were detected and repaired. Their 2021 expectations are to bid and start the construction on the digester project at the plant, continue to update their asset management and lucidity, and finish the phosphorus discharge optimization plan and submit that to the IEPA. Utility staff also plans to continue lining the sanitary and storm sewer lines and laterals, monitor the I&I and the SSIP consent order area, and to continue the monitoring of the water main leak detection devices. Finally, they're going to televise 55,000 feet of sanitary sewers and clean pipes over 15 inches. Any questions?
Any questions on the municipal utility fund? Alderman Dunn.
Yeah, just on that first page, 185, it looks like we're expecting about $30 million in revenues and $47 million in expenditures. We have a running balance of the fund of close to $50 million. Is that right? We have about a year's worth of fund balance in the fund, or?
So this is a little different, being that it's an enterprise fund. So instead of a fund balance type schedule like the general fund or the motor fuel tax fund, this is a net position. So that's accounting for the entire asset value of the municipal utility fund. So we're in the process of putting a rate study together with Baxter Woodman, and part of that will have a cash flow and hopefully an identical financial statement like a fund balance to give the city council a better estimate of where the MUF fund stands financially.
Sure, great.
Okay, anything further on the municipal utility fund? Yes, Alderman Toledo.
Thank you. Staff is aware, I had a lot of offline questions with them on a number of these, so that's why I've been relatively quiet tonight. But I did want to point out to the council that, as Director Trozine just referenced, there is a current, where staff is currently awaiting for this long anticipated Baxter and Woodman study that is going to help us understand some of the things that need attention within this system. One of the things that's important to note in this budget is that staff has made an assumption as it relates to revenue and fees for water and water and sewer to the tune of about $3.5 million increase in 1 year in water and sewer fees. So I just want everyone to know that, because just because it's in this budget, as staff and I talked about today, doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the city council will approve, but that's what is assumed in order to fund all of the projects that are implied in both the KEB and in this budget. So Finance Committee should be talking more about water and sewer rates once that study is completed and staff has a chance to talk about it and understand the implications of that. So more to come on that, but I did want to call everyone's attention to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Toledo. Okay, I think that closes out the MUF, so let's go on to item M, the Parking Systems Fund.
That is on page 208. And anything to add? One.
So this is a fund that everybody is aware that has definitely been significantly impacted by COVID-19. Just taking out the revenues, significant decreases. So again, like the MUF fund with the capital, staff will be monitoring this very closely and everything, and we may have to switch gears as far as possibly, can we defer some of the parking deck maintenance, or does the parking deck maintenance have a different funding source, that being possibly the downtown Tiff Fund and everything. So again, significantly impacted, and staff is aware of that and monitoring this fund very closely.
Okay, any questions there? Alderman Levin.
Thank you. Is the majority of the decrease in revenues due to monthly parkers not parking, and the decrease in fines due to people in the parking deck who are not paying fines, or is this some of this street parking too?
It's all the above. I mean, it's all the above. There are very little commuting parking, dialer spaces, permits, employee and commuter, and then very limited fines.
I mean, because we have and I assume the salary and wages, is that for our parking enforcement personnel, or is that something more? Is that also maintenance?
So that's actually some finance staff that administers the parking, and then we do have one vacancy, but that is budgeted, so the 2 parking enforcement officers also are included.
All right, thank you.
Alderman Brennan.
Thank you. So I'm on 209, the debt service, so under expenditures. So Director Trezine, I see that
that increase from 2019 to 2020, are we accelerating our debt payment, or did something, come due in the queue?
Give me a minute to check
Yeah.
really quick.
No,
but,
no worries. I was just curious. Then part two of that question, Tom, is how long will that debt service at these levels go out into the future? And if you don't know off the top of your head, I'm fine with waiting.
We'll need to get back with the
Okay.
detail and stuff, so
All right, thanks,
We'll
Tom.
put that on the circle back.
we can do that. Yes.
Okay. Quick question, City Manager, as it relates to maintenance, would we foresee less maintenance required because of usage being down, or is it pretty much you've got an exposed asset and it's the elements that
Yeah.
dictate that?
I think it's more the elements than it is the use. You have a lot of silicone rubber that's involved in sealing the cracks there, which, as I understand, is a lot of the maintenance when we go in there. Occasionally, use will, affect the spalling of the concrete or something like that, but, yeah, once it's out in the weather, it needs to be maintained.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else under the parking system fund? All right, let's go on to item N. Item N, the TIF funds. So we'll start on page 216. Okay. And City Manager Grabowski, we just step through these just go from one to the other and see if there's any specific questions? Is that how we normally do that?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Tom to comment on TIF 1 and TIF 3 because they're really at end of life, and I know we talked a little bit about it at Finance Committee tonight, so I'm going to ask him to update the council on those.
Okay.
So as City Manager Grabowski mentioned, TIF 1 was closed in 2018. You can see that we do have 2020 estimated that we would spend all of those funds. More than likely, we will have funds still available that we would be actually asking for carryover. But TIF 1 was, the $1.5 million was transferred out to TIF 4 this year, so that was a significant part of it, but there's still dollars in that fund associated with a couple of redevelopment agreements that we have, namely Opus and New Homestar.
Tom, before you get off TIF 1, the transfer from TIF 1 to TIF 4 was for the IGA with District 205, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions on TIF 1? Okay, hearing none, we'll go forward to TIF 3. Any questions on TIF 3? Okay. Tom, please.
And just as a follow-up, as City Manager mentioned, Grabowski mentioned that TIF 3 is now closed. We have notified all of the taxing agencies that it is closed. When a TIF closes, all of the taxing bodies can use that EAV increment that is built up as new growth, so we have notified everybody of that. And our plan is to have an ordinance on the agenda for this Monday that will be terminating TIF 3. Identical to TIF 1, we do have it estimated that we would spend all of the funds in 2020, but more than likely we will have some additional funds. There has been a designation through the committee and the council as far as some of the remaining funds. Most of the remaining funds would go to two projects, a crosswalk on West Avenue and the larger amount being geared towards the Utley Station improvements.
They could be 410. What?
Okay. Moving on to TIF 4. Any comments or questions on TIF 4?
It goes to 10 o'clock.
Alderman Branham.
Yes, thank you. TIF 4, the North York TIF, I had a few questions, one of which I expressed previously, and I'd like to add it as part of the circle back, and that is the use of TIF 4 funds for capital improvements, specifically street reconstruction. If you look at page 228, it's not like this TIF has a large fund balance. As we speak, it's probably in the 400,000 and going down to 300,000. I don't see, which is what I think personally that the TIF should be utilized for, is redevelopment, and redevelopment in the means of property acquisition, property consolidation, et cetera. There's a lot of opportunity in this TIF, so I would like for that part of it to be on the circle back. I did have a question in regards to same page 228 under other financing source, line of credit. We're showing 500,000, 1.2, 500, and then 1.1 for 2022 proposed. Could that be stated on what that line of credit is being utilized for?
So that's actually, we ended up borrowing, I believe it was $5 million for this TIF. And those are actually repayments of the loan that we have. So in 2019, we made a $500,000 payment, reducing that line to $4.5 million. And then again, we have $1.2 million, $500,000, $1.1 million. So those are the repayments of the line of credit borrowing that we did for TIF 4.
And then what was the usage of the line of credit? Was it Hahn Street redevelopment, Mariano's? I don't recall.
Yeah, most of it was the Hahn Street project, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Alderman Levin.
So the operating transfer in of the $1.5 million, that's not TIF 1 though, is it? It is TIF 1.
That is correct. That's from TIF 1. You'll see the expenditure of other public improvements in 2020 estimated, 8026 on page 230. So that $1,656,000, $1.5 million of that is the payment to the school district for the Churchville improvements.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else on TIF 4? Okay, hearing none. TIF 5? Anything on TIF 5? Hearing none. On to downtown TIF. Page 238. All right, looks like there's no questions. That takes care of the TIF funds. Then we'll go on to item O, Capital Improvement Fund on 156 to 159. Anyone on the dais have any questions related to the Capital Improvement Fund? Hearing none, we've identified the ones we wanted to get through tonight, Jim. Should we keep going?
I don't think we
Tom?
can.
Trying to keep going?
Can we?
No.
Alderman Palomsky.
Are we allowed to address anything that isn't on this agenda?
Yeah, that's a good point. We should probably stop here because we did list them specifically on the agenda, so we
Okay.
should probably stop with those.
What do you want
All
to
right.
talk about?
Okay, so we'll stop here then?
Yes.
That's your thoughts?
Yes.
Okay. So then, in terms of next week, Do you feel we'll be at a point where we'll have gone through the first pass of all the items?
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yes, with the announcement from the governor today of the Tier 2 movement, we have to contemplate how we're going to structure that for everybody, because we have a limit of 10 people in this room for a meeting, so we will have to go back to the WebEx participation, so we'll be sending out a survey to everybody, see if anybody wants to be here or on WebEx, and then we'll figure it out from there. I know we had some difficulties with people present in this room who couldn't hear the meeting, so we're trying to figure that part out too, so that, to make sure everybody can hear exactly what's going on the computer.
Okay.
So we'll get back to you. We did send an email out this afternoon kind of detailing the governor's announcement today.
Okay. Since we have 5 Mondays in November, do we need to be all thinking that we could have to meet on Monday, the 30th, just to, if we do have some challenges around COVID and may not get through things as quickly as we had hoped?
Well, I appreciate you thinking that, Mr. Chairman, and of course, I appreciate everybody keeping that open just in case. We do have 2 meetings remaining this month, 16th and the 23rd, and then, of course, December 7th would be that first meeting where we could possibly pass the budget. We do have the budget hearing scheduled for the 16th, so next Monday. We'll have that as part of the city council meeting. Again, taking into the account all the restrictions that we have with participation, but we'll make sure we work within that. And that's a requirement of the state. Of course, we'll take any input that people may have for the budget, but that is scheduled for next Monday.
Okay. Thank you. With that, unless there's any further questions, I need a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Motion by Alderman Mulliner, second by Alderman Honquist. I think we probably want to do a roll call vote on this, so Clerk Tamer, please.
Brennan?
Aye.
Mulliner?
Aye.
Deuter?
Aye.
Varimus? Dunn?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Palumsky?
Aye.
Cahill?
Aye.
Toludo?
Aye.
Park? Absent. Levin?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Honquist?
Aye.
12 ayes, 0 nays.
12 ayes, 0 nays. We are adjourned. Thank you all.